So, just quickly to give you a background, I played my underage football with Vincent's. My dad was a teacher in Edscoil Reach and in Marino, and at 18 I transferred over back to Clontarf, which is where I lived and where all my friends were from. And a lot of people would have said that was a poor choice from a football point of view, but ultimately, and I'd still agree with this, that you should be playing football with the people in your own parish. That's where you should play, or hurling, whatever sport it is. So one of the first teams I coached had a young man called Brian O'Driscoll on it, and we'd a function before Christmas as a fundraiser, and he spoke on it. And he talked about he talked about the skill sets that he gained from Gaelic games, which he brought into obviously international level. But our club had an incredible ability for years to blame rugby in our parish for our lack of success. If you talked, it was nearly like they had anyone that didn't believe that was the case, they were made believe that was the case. So about 8 or 9 years ago, like a lot of people here, I'm sure you can identify with this, I was playing senior football. I was in charge of an under-10 team in the club. I was juvenile officer and I was on the executive committee. Now you know what happened next. You just burn out. You burn out and you serve no master properly. So maybe it took me a long time, but about 12 years ago I decided from now on I'm serving one master. No matter what I do, I'm only going to serve one master. So when I was involved with a Dublin development squad, I'd obviously continued to work with the kids, but I never got involved with another team at the same time. And it's not possible. You just end up falling over yourself. But when I looked back at my own club and I saw the structures, it stuck out like a sore thumb that there's lots of people come from different areas. So we'd people who came from a rugby background, we'd people who played soccer, we'd a couple of people who played Gaelic football. And I look at clubs, say for example like Vincent's or Kilmacud, and when I go to matches and I see their former players involved, I look, well, it's no wonder they continue to be successful. Because the knowledge that they pass on, those nuggets of information that you pass on are just unbelievably important. David Hickey, who most people in the room would know, David Hickey at the moment is practicing medicine in Dubai or something, I think, something like that at the moment. He hasn't been able to eat in 9 months. He's been fed through a tube in his stomach. He's got throat cancer, and he's back practicing medicine for free. Isn't it an unbelievable indication of the man? But when I was involved with the lads, Hick used to lean on the fence, and every now and again he'd call you over and he'd pass on a piece of information. And one of the things he said to me one day was, the worst outcome for a forward is for the ball to land in the keeper's hands. So we had a 16-shot challenge or 18-shot challenge, which I'll show you this morning, and I'd say, go back to the lads, say the worst outcome for a forward is for the ball to land in the keeper's hand. I didn't say that, the Hick said that. So then we changed from putting the ball over the bar to putting the ball over the bar, hitting the stop nets. And all of a sudden a slight change, a slight chink of the dial, and that became a completely different exercise, right? Now that's a nugget. Last year, Paul Flynn, or 2 years ago, he came into us. We had a huge problem when we went in with the girls of forward movement, and I'd equate it to working with a juvenile team. An awful lot of girls come through the system whereby they don't get talked to about the game the same way a young fella does. They don't have that conversation. It's not the same. And we actually we recognised this quite early, and we asked them to start going to the games with parents or boyfriends and talk the game. Actually talk the game, like a lad would. Go and talk the game as it's unfolding in front of them. Go into Croke Park, watch whatever game you want, and talk the game. And why do we do that? Because that football language that you create is so important. Or hurling language doesn't make a difference. If I'm offended here by someone talking to someone about football, it's because obviously that's what I spend most of my time doing. So we had to create a language, and last week we've about 12 or 13, 14 new members of the squad at the moment, and I put up all of the language that we were using over the last 2 years on a board, and I couldn't believe how many terms were involved. And I thought, Jesus Christ, if I show them that, they'll panic. So, because it's just too much together. But when you infiltrate it little by little, it's not, right? So Paul Flynn gave us the term last year, or 2 years ago, about the power of doing nothing. And what does that mean? So you've an attacking unit, 6 forwards, and the ball is hit into the inside line. What happens next? Where's the half-forward line go? Everyone goes in, right? Then we try and pass the ball to who? To somebody standing still in a tight area, and inevitably who gets the ball? The defence, and they come out with it. So he talked about the power of doing nothing. Centre forward, just stay. Don't do anything. Stay out there. And watch how many times the ball comes out to you in the course of the game, and then you're able to orchestrate what happens around you. That's an unbelievable, it sounds like nothing initially, and then it becomes an incredibly powerful thing. Does that make sense? Johnny Cooper, I was lucky enough to work with Johnny, minor 21, Sigerson, and then senior. And I don't know if I've ever met anyone who thinks the game out as much as he does. He's just an incredible mind for the game. He came out to us and we were working typical little exercise, 3v3, 3 backs against 3 forwards, and the forwards were absolutely destroying the backs in this exercise, which is not usual, it's normally the other way around. And he took the backs in literally for 30 seconds, and they went back into the exercise, and the exercise turned on its head. And he gave them one piece of advice: don't make the first move. That's all he said. Don't make the first move. Isn't that brilliant? And when I look back, I have a book that I keep. Every time I get something like that from whoever, whether it's in rugby or basketball or Gaelic football, I bring it. They're my nuggets. They're the nuggets. That's my job as a coach, to try and educate the player. So they're the nuggets that, and it doesn't, Paul Casey's involved with us, who I know most people would have a huge amount of time for, right, and particularly anyone who's played with him, because he was one of those selfless players, right? And defensively, he was talking to the group last year about the whole thing of the game is 60 minutes or 63 or 64 minutes, but it's almost impossible. Like, you're in here in the room, how long can you concentrate for? How long can you keep focus for? I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago, something set up by the GA on good communication, and the person who gave the talk, I think she lost the room after about 90 seconds. And this was on good communication, and you're there thinking, holy Jesus, what are we doing? But so you think of a player in a match. I remember Owen O'Gara saying to us before about he found it awfully difficult to stay in the moment, and Paul talked about this exercise of 3 balls. Don't play the game over 65 minutes. You play it over 3 balls. So have you won the competition? It's 2-1. I've lost it 2-1. It's 1-1. Now we're going for the third. Who's going to win it? And then the next stage, we're back to again. It's 3 balls, you're back to 0 again. So he played the defensive setup, telling them to play 3 balls at a time. That's a fantastic message for people who struggle to think for, which is a lot of us, struggle to think for a long period of time.